Hi, this is Irving Steele, your host of Local Issues, and today we are very fortunate and grateful to have a leader in the community come and take some time out of her day to share about the amazing work that she's doing for a lot of the businesses, organizations, and many people in the community. So today we have Lisa Konicki, who is the CEO of the Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. Welcome.
Hello, glad to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Of course, it's great to have you here, and it's amazing to know about all these different awards and things that under your leadership you are able to have. That I believe you were the New England Executive of the Year for all the chambers of New England. And
years ago,
but it still counts.
Sure, it's made my mom very proud. Yes, yes, that was a fun one.
And then right before we started, you said you have recently had another award. You want to tell us about that?
Well, we were notified in the fall by the Stonington Community Center that as an individual and the Chamber of Commerce as an organization would be recognized this year in May as their Stars Over Stonington.
Nice.
So every year they pick a person and or an organization that's contributed a lot to the betterment of the community, and they have a special gala dinner and talk about what those contributions are, and people come out to sort of jointly celebrate, and that was a wonderful surprise.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I think what I loved about it most was that it coincides with our 100th year anniversary, which of course they didn't know at the time. We hadn't even announced that to the public.
Wow,
but
congratulations, 100 years.
Yes, I know. I don't look a day over 99.
Yeah.
But no,
great for the age.
The Chamber's been at it for a long time and sustained momentum and growth throughout that entire period.
That's cool, and I think a lot of it is thanks to your leadership that you continue to find different ways to grow the community, grow the organization, and then most importantly, provide value back to your member organizations.
Well, thank you for that. I credit the volunteers, the board of directors that give so much of their time out of their business to share their expertise with us, to lead our organization, and to evaluate and accept and embrace my ideas, some which are pretty big, pretty bold, but it's like having a cheerleading team that says, yeah, we can do it. And then they go out and they help make it happen. And everybody works so well together and takes such great pride in the positive results that we're able to generate for the businesses in the two-state region. So it makes it fun. It makes it a very dynamic environment. And it makes it a place where volunteers from the community want to be a part of that success. And so all of those factors, plus, I've been at it for a while now. Yeah. It'll be 29 years for me this October.
Wow, congratulations.
In this position. And thank you. And my right arm, Maria DiMaggio, she's been there for 12 years. And that's not that common in chamber world. Because it can be a tough, grueling gig if you're doing it right and you're giving it your all. And we've had Grace Lund with us now for a little more than 3 years. So we're doing a lot with a small team, but it's a really dedicated group of people that have helped us along the way.
And I think longevity is a great kind of tangible issue that shows that the organization's doing well and that under your leadership, people want to stay there and kind of give back to the community. So that's a really important point. And then also, I was looking at the board of directors, and it seems like it's a diverse group of people too. People from insurance, people from banking, from this organization, that organization. So it's a lot of diverse thought and perspectives that I'm sure makes all your programs that much stronger.
That's an excellent point. We're actually in the nominating process right now to identify some potential new board members because some cycle out each year.
Okay.
And some of the criteria that's considered is the size of the company, because we want both micro businesses as well as very large employers, because we have members that fall into both of those categories.
Okay.
We want different types of industries, as you mentioned, which we do. We have some that are, restaurants to tourism to service industry to nonprofits, all on our board. Geographic diversity is important as well. We are a regional organization. We have about 200 members total in Connecticut, and then the other 650-ish are on the Rhode Island side. So we have board members that have businesses in both Connecticut and Rhode Island, so that we make sure we incorporate their perspectives and whatever challenges they might be facing. And it just makes for a rich discussion in the boardroom, and We're really lucky that we've had outstanding leadership and people that are willing to serve.
That's great. And I think it's an interesting dynamic that you do have the two states that some of the members are from Connecticut, and you also have the Rhode Island group, and it kind of helps to push more of this regional mentality where you don't have to be confined maybe just to Rhode Island or just to Connecticut, that maybe having that larger community encourages your members to even think a little bit larger if that's where their business takes them.
Definitely. You'd be shortchanging yourself if you just thought along town or even state boundaries, given the location that we're in. I mean, our downtown is physically joined by the Pawcatuck River. Wow. Half the businesses are in Rhode Island and half are in Connecticut. And we manage some programs like a banner program and a flower pot program that that make it seamless in the downtown. So if you weren't from the area and you drove through, you would see the same exact flower pots and the same exact flowers on both sides. You would not even know that you just crossed from one town or one state to the other, because of the continuity that we feel is so important in that commercial business district. And then a couple of our largest events, like the Pawcatuck River Duck Race and River Glow, physically take place on the river, which again joins the two communities. So it's always been a natural for us to be regional. And back in the day, our name used to be the Greater Westerly Pawcatuck Area Chamber of Commerce. A very sort
That's
of
a mouthful.
cumbersome name. And 10 years ago, we decided, okay, let's shorten the name, but have it be reflective of the region that we serve, not call out any one or two towns, because frankly, we've got members from Charlestown, Rhode Island, Richmond, Hopkinton, Rhode Island. We've got a handful of members in Waterford and New London. And why do you want to say you're this chamber? That? So Ocean Community really reflects the leadership that was first shown by the YMCA in Westerly. They're the Ocean Community Y, and they have a branch in Mystic. They have a branch in Richmond, Rhode Island, and their headquarters is in Westerly. And that footprint basically mirrors what our service area is, even though you can certainly join from other communities. And we just had Tamarack Lodge from Ballintown join a couple weeks ago. So they do, and a lot of businesses join more than one chamber as well, which is great.
And it's refreshing too, especially in everything going on in the world, to find out and hear more about kind of more of this collaboration and thinking of more regional kind of economies of scale and all of that. So I think that's really good. And I'm curious too, maybe taking a step back, what makes your chamber kind of stand out and a little bit unique? That you mentioned there are other chambers that people join, but what would you say is kind of your standing point that makes you unique?
Sure. Well, every chamber is great, and they all have their strengths. Some of the things that we're particularly proud of that come to mind immediately would be our gift certificate program. We're the only chamber in the region, and we are the largest in the United States in terms of the amount of gift certificates that we sell. So we sell over a couple $100,000 every year. And people buy them from us at our office, and then they're given a list of where those gift certificates can be redeemed. And so it's a variety of businesses across the region that we serve, and people use them for everything from getting their hair done to buying groceries, home heating oil, liquor stores, and restaurants. And what I love about it is we're paying checks to our members every single week. I have a stack every week of who I'm paying.
That's great.
And it's unusual for chambers to be writing all those checks to their members.
Usually it's the other way around. Where companies
which is great too. But I love to be able to quantify for a member at the end of the year, hey, you paid us X for a dues investment. Maybe it's $350, $400. I don't know what it is depending on their size. But we paid you $5,000. That's a good deal. And so we run the report each year, and it becomes, I don't want to say a no-brainer, but it becomes an obvious, smart investment for a lot of businesses when they're getting their dues paid back 5 times, 10 times for what they paid in.
That's incredible.
And that's one benefit.
Yeah.
So that's something that we started more than 25 years ago, and it's just built up over time. And when someone uses a gift certificate at a business, the business keeps the full 100% value of the certificate. So if it's a 50, you get paid the 50. We don't take out an admin fee or like credit cards, dock you a 3% or something. No, you get the full 50. So it's actually better to use a chamber gift certificate than one of those gift cards that you might buy at a national company and go and use. And the business owners certainly appreciate that.
Of course, most business owners think in return on investment, and if they're spending an X amount to join the chamber and they get 5 times that or 10 times that back, of course.
Yeah, so we love that. We have a gorgeous welcome center, and it is active. So we're right on Route 1, 4-lane highway, the main corridor between Newport and Mystic. And so we have people coming both directions, and we are open year-round to welcome them, and depending on what their destination is, to derail them and get them to spend time in our region before they go off to Newport, or before they go, further down to, who knows, Old Saybrook or New York or wherever they might be heading. So being uniquely positioned on a major highway like that with a state-of-the-art welcome center that's very large, mortgage paid off, and has a beautiful lobby area that's very welcoming. We can display brochures and menus and have great conversations with people and give those kinds of referrals and promotional information, get it out into the hands of travelers to the area. And again, that's a real direct interface that can yield results. Our social media presence is pretty strong. We have well over 20,000 Facebook followers, for example, and our Instagram numbers are climbing, not as strong as that, but climbing all the time.
And it seems like lots of videos there, lots of events, lots of different things. It's very active.
So if we go in and we visit your business, which we do on a regular basis, maybe it's to pay you your gift certificates, or just to pay you a visit, or to document a meal that we ordered that night, whatever it might be. We'll make a little video, we'll put it on our social pages, and businesses can see and watch those numbers climb over the hours or days ahead.
Into the thousands, I saw some of them.
Exactly. We had one about 3 weeks ago, they hit 42,000 for a market, Dunn's Corners Marketplace.
That's amazing.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So for them to get that kind of exposure when their dues is under $300 a year, they're thrilled with their chamber membership. And that's really the goal for me, is to make the member happy, to make them have a return on their investment, to do what's best for them and their bottom line. And so we're constantly evolving and trying to be clever and trying to offer different kinds of benefits that can quantify it. And yes, we have business after hours like every chamber does, and we love them and they're fun. Networking is nice. But I like writing checks to my members, and I like sending direct business to them, and I think we excel in those areas.
Definitely. And I can just feel a passion from you right now, and when we talk about this, that you really care about these organizations.
Absolutely.
And that goes a long way.
Oh, yeah. We are vested in them.
Very vested.
My kids will tell you, growing up, it was interesting for them, because dinner on a Friday night, which chamber member do you want to go to tonight? If it wasn't a chamber member, it just wasn't happening. And then you order the food, and no one can touch your food until mom photographs it. And then we make a post about it later. So kind of always on, and that goes the same for my other staff. They're equally as passionate and committed to the cause, and we just look for any opportunity we can to shine a positive light and to help elevate the businesses and nonprofits that we represent.
That's cool. And I'm also curious too, that it seems like you mentioned some of these other chambers and positive things to say about them. I'm curious how you maybe collaborate or work with some of these other chambers, because there are quite a few in the region. Yeah,
well, you've got the United States Chamber that is operating in every community and always looking for members. And then in our area on both sides, we would have either the Charlestown, Rhode Island Chamber or the Mystic Chamber. And then there's even the Eastern Connecticut Chamber and other chambers. I've got board members that are members of 5 chambers of commerce, all the way up to Providence, Rhode Island. So we like to think of chambers as the same way you would a radio station or a newspaper. They're marketing outlets. They're very effective, nimble marketing outlets that can provide you with a different audience depending on which one you join. There might be some overlapping of communities that they serve, but you're going to reach beyond your normal core business group if you start to think a little bit bigger. And because chambers are really underpriced. I really believe for what you get from any one of these chambers we're talking about, the price far outweighs the benefit that you're getting, the investment. That it makes sense for some businesses to consider joining more than one. I always think you should join your local chamber. So if you're in downtown Mystic, you better be a member of the Mystic Chamber because they're doing great stuff. And if you're in Charlestown, the same thing. But if we can offer additional benefits that maybe you're not getting, that enhance and certainly don't dilute or compete in any way, where's the harm in that?
Yeah, it sounds like amazing exposure for these organizations.
And that goes both ways. We have several businesses in Westerly, like I said, that are members of neighboring chambers. So you might have a situation like last week where there were 3 of us, Eastern Chamber, Mystic Chamber, and Ocean Community Chamber, all at SIFT at the Mohegan Sun for the ribbon cutting of their newest location over there. And who doesn't love that?
That's really cool. All together launching the SIFT, and they're growing fast too.
It is great. It is great. And occasionally there might be a business after hours where chambers have a common member. And if the host facility wants to include more than one chamber, they can. Now that doesn't always happen because as the host facility, you're responsible for paying for the food and the alcohol. And some businesses have space limitations. So sometimes they want to open it up to 2 chambers or more. Sometimes, hey, I'm already well known in this community. I would like this other chamber membership to come in and get some additional exposure. So you see how it goes from there.
Awesome. And I'm wondering a little bit about what you see as the business climate right now. That different people have different perspectives, but you are front and center. You talk with organizations each and every day. What are you kind of sensing right now for the business climate?
It is so different depending on who you talk to.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. About 2 weeks ago, I had lunch at 2 different chamber members. They are both restaurants, and they both have the same type of menu, but they're not right next to each other. One of them was telling me that they switched to a particular service and that generated an extra $340,000 in sales from that one decision that they never would have considered previously that would have impacted their business in that way. So he was having a great year and was looking forward to potential future growth and was sharing that very candid information with me, and it was a wonderful lunch. The same week, I met with a business in the same industry that's really challenged right now. Challenged as a new owner, challenged to get that same kind of traction, challenged to get people to dine indoors as opposed to takeout. So they had some really specific needs, and we sat down and talked about, well, how can the chamber help you overcome some of those challenges and get people in the door? So in that instance, we came up with a Dine to Donate program. We partnered with them for 6 weeks with various nonprofits in the community. And now those nonprofits become ambassadors to help promote to their following and constituencies, let's all go to X restaurant this week because they're going to give us 10% of the sales. Hopefully a win-win for both the nonprofit and the member that was really asking for some help and intervention. We designed the flyers for them. We sent out the invite to all the nonprofits, and we set the whole schedule. After the second week, that business owner called up and said, it's working, it's doing good. Could you help me now with my other business, which is in a different town, also a chamber member, and would you set up a Dine to Donate for me with that one too? And of course we did. Now that's not a benefit you're gonna see advertised in our brochures or online, but that's okay. We'll sit down with any business and try on a one-on-one basis to help customize the type of solutions that they might need to meet whatever the challenges is that they're facing right now. Talked with a brewery a couple weeks ago, extremely concerned about potential tariffs and what that might do to them. I'm not going to have any control over that. They don't have any control over that, but they're bracing for it. And so when you say, what's the climate like? There's a lot of question marks right now because while there's a pause on that for 90 days, what's going to happen?
Who knows, yeah.
Right. So there are some things that are out of our control, and we just have to really put our energies into those things that we know we can make a difference and,
And that's what it sounds like
do
you're
our
doing.
best.
You go, you meet with them, you understand their issues, and you come up with tangible solutions that drive results. That's phenomenal.
We try, and we've been tested with Superstorm Sandy, with the flood of 20, and with COVID. Like, how do you
All
help
these different
businesses through
things.
these challenging times?
Yeah.
So it's forced us to be nimble and to be resilient over the years, and to try to, again, get clever about moving the needle on their sales and helping them in a way that we're still relevant. And at the end of the year, when they get that dues renewal, they say, yeah, this was a great business partner, and this was a smart investment for me. I want to re-up, because a chamber membership is an optional thing, and we want them to want to be part of our family, and we want to deliver results that we can feel proud about.
That's cool. And maybe the flip side of that is, where do you see a lot of these different opportunities and unique spots? Maybe there isn't a company in the region that does this, or there is, but they could grow much larger. Do you have any ideas on that?
So we're in the process of sending out a survey. We're compiling it now, which would identify business voids. So in other words, it would be a survey that you ask consumers in the region, no less than 300 of them, what are the types of services that right now you either go online, God forbid, like to, I won't say any names, but not supporting your local community, or you get in your car and you have to drive 15 minutes away or more because it's not here, okay? So for example, there are people that have said they want an indoor recreation facility for kids, such as a place in Warwick, Rhode Island called Launch, which is, these giant things, trampoline type things, and
Play space.
Play spaces indoors. Similarly, we've had people say they want indoor cheering facility, like one in Salem, Connecticut. So we're like in between those types of things, and there isn't one in the area. Okay, just because a few people may say they want that for their kids, do we have the demographics to support that? In Westerly specifically, the demographics are getting older and older. We're getting more and more retirees, and the number of people with children in our school system is going down. So that's the kind of information we would be sharing and contemplating with a particular investor or developer before we go out and try to find a business to fill that void. Because does it make sense in your community? Because of course you want every business to succeed.
Definitely.
So it's always an interesting process to see what voids surface to the top, and then can we play an effective role in identifying people to meet those and make a successful match.
I love it. It's kind of the Stephen Covey thought of start with the end in mind and kind of work your way
backward.
back.
Yes,
yeah.
Exactly.
And then that way you come up with a solution that if there is that need in the market, then you match the market to the need.
We've had people come in with a particular idea in mind, and then after talking and giving them numbers on square foot to rent, or going through information about competition, or sharing other information, or on their behalf making calls on what would they have to pay employees to do those frontline basic fulfillment order positions at a manufacturer or whatever. And they say, guess what? This doesn't make sense for me. And they thank us. They're never going to become a member because that particular business did not materialize. I still feel that that's a value that we're providing to the community because we want everyone to succeed.
Definitely.
We don't want someone to take their entire life's investment. We would never tell them what to do or what not to do. We would merely try to help get the questions answered and help provide the information that they're looking for so that they could make the best decision for them and for their family.
I mean, that's one of the things Steve Jobs always said is innovation isn't always saying yes to all these new ideas and new solutions. Sometimes it's the hard no where there isn't the market or there isn't the opportunity, and you providing that service is invaluable.
We provide the mirror so that they can reflect, but again, I'll call a business that's technically one of their competitors and say, can you tell me what your starting pay is for a person to do X or whatever? And they share that information with us, and we'll do some other, legwork for them if we don't have information at our fingertips. But
that's cool. It almost sounds like you are a mix of a McKinsey consultant going in there and helping them, or one of these large marketing firms, promotion firms going in there, but kind of a mix of all these different unique services and value adds that provide that to the organization. I'm curious, maybe you could talk a little bit about your organization that you mentioned you have quite a few people who have been there a long time. Have you thought about growing the organization? Are you kind of happy with the size? Will you elaborate a little bit on that?
So when I started 29 years ago, We
Just
had about
yesterday, I'm
400 members. And the biggest event that they did was a yard sale and a golf tournament. And I had come from the Hartford Chamber of Commerce, which was the largest chamber in the state of Connecticut, and I had several years under my belt there. And so that was my first job out of college. And so I thought differently than the folks that had previously worked and done a phenomenal job at what was then called the Greater Westerly Pawcatuck Chamber of Commerce. They had just built their building on Route 1. That was a major accomplishment. But in terms of growth, they kind of didn't know where to go from there. And so we've taken a lot of steps over the years to now get to where we have 865 members.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's great. We're very proud of it, and we're really proud of our retention rate for those members. And so when you talk about growth, our membership has doubled. The building that we had when I started has more than doubled. We are expanding. We will be announcing within a week the specifics of our expansion.
Exciting. Can't wait to hear that.
It is very exciting. Because we've been working on the fundraising for the expansion for the past year and a half, and just recently it has taken a little shift. So all good. It's all good stuff, and it just makes sense for us and for our community.
And for the fundraising, is it usually government kind of providing some of this funding? Is a lot of the companies providing funding? How does that work?
So for the past year and a half, we have raised $225,000 from a combination of businesses that have made donations. The largest was $10,000. That was the only one at that level. The rest were, anywhere between $100 and $1,000 was the typical contribution once we outlined what the needs were and what the plans for the project were. But we raised $70,000 of that doing a zipline fundraiser where a bunch of us went ziplining and people sponsored us. That was followed up.
Sounds like fun.
It was fun and, again, creative.
Yeah.
I like to be out of the box. And then after that, we did a skydiving fundraiser.
Oh my goodness.
In June of last year. So I jumped out of a plane in Newport, as did several board members and community leaders. We had town councilors doing it on our behalf and raising money. We had a 90-year-old do it. We had all kinds of people doing it. And then, as if that weren't enough, we did a shark diving experience at the end of the summer where we went to Yarmouth, Mass, and 6 of us had to get at least $1,200 in sponsorship and then get in the cage where the sharks were, coming around us while the waters were being chummed, and videotape it to prove that we actually did it. So I think they're shooting me out of a cannon next, because there's really nothing else left to do in the category of crazy stunts. But we will continue, chipping away at the goal of raising as much as we can to cover as much as we can for the expansion, because of course construction prices have gone up significantly, as are the supplies, and God only knows what's going to happen over the coming months. So
who knows?
It's a little scary, but we're committed to it.
Yeah. And with your 29 years with this chamber, then you had a couple years with Hartford, you have a really good pulse on companies. I'm sure you've seen so many grow and expand and all these different things. What advice would you maybe provide some of our viewers or different members of the community? Maybe they have a small business, or maybe they have a medium-sized business or a micro business like you mentioned. What are some actionable steps that they could maybe take to grow and take to the next step, even with all the uncertainty?
Sure. Well, of course, they're going to join their local chamber first.
Step one.
And maybe even additional chambers if it makes sense for them and if that's in their budget. They should look into any grants that are available. We in the past have had grants for small businesses. Some of them have been business recovery grants. Some of them have been facade improvement grants. Some of them have been grants like first-year membership grants, be due to certain special circumstances. So do your research and find out what's out there, because you might be surprised. Get a mentor is always something that
Invaluable.
I say. Somebody that's been doing it or something like it that you can trust. And when you're established, be a mentor. Pay it forward. Help somebody out.
Give back, yeah.
I have many people that I've been on the receiving end of their leadership and their tutelage, and I have just as many people that I've taken a special interest in, brought in. They've either come to us as a volunteer or as an intern, or they're a friend or whatever, and now they're off doing wonderful things.
That's amazing.
And it does feel great knowing that you are a small part of their journey as they've gone out and achieved different levels of success. So those are some of the first things. There's a lot of networking opportunities they can do. Take advantage of everything that's free. I mean, social media, for the most part, is free, and you can get some incredible traction on it. So there's a lot more, and I'm happy to sit down with anyone, and depending on their particular industry, I might be able to provide some more specific guidance as well.
Cool, and we just have about a minute left, so if people watching want to maybe get in contact with you or support your chamber or learn more about it, how would they do that?
Sure. They could reach us at oceanchamber.org. That is our website. They can follow us on Facebook or on Instagram, Ocean Community Chamber of Commerce. They can volunteer for us. They can sponsor an event. We have some really cool stuff happening this year for our 100th anniversary, our Nutcracker Trail this coming winter. We're always looking for people to get involved with the Stonington Lobster Trap Tree, one of our largest, undertakings. It really is just, caught wildfire with that project. But always happy to meet new people and find out how we can plug in to their journey or how they can be a part of what we're doing.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. Grateful for that and grateful for all that you do in the community.
Well, thank you for this awesome opportunity.